I'm gonna try to put this video out before going back to bed and then having to get back up again before going to work at 3:30. Um, fate has been unkind to the United States. The nation is grappling simultaneously with the pandemic that has claimed the lives of more than 130,000 people, the most severe economic downturn since the Great Depression, and the mind-numbing police brutality, which has generated the largest outpouring of grief and anger against systemic racism in memory. Perhaps America's greatest misfortune is that these crises have emerged at a time when its leadership is too incompetent to respond to them, if not maliciously dedicated to making them worse. 45 has not only refused to contain the COVID-19, but is actively pushing Americans into harm's way, demanding the nation reopen while cases and deaths continue to rise. Meanwhile, he's siphoning federal money intended to dampen the economic crisis into the pockets of his cronies and family, and he is deliberately stoking racial tensions to energize his inbred base for the upcoming election. Hold on. Hold on a second. Let's see what the hell I was doing here. I just hit something, hold on. Okay, so yeah, as if this wasn't enough, 45 continues to attack the rule of law, on which a democracy depends in order to deal with these and other challenges. But he cannot accomplish these abhorrent feats alone. Senate Republicans are either cheering him on or maintaining a shameful silence. 45's biggest enabler is the Senate Majority Leader Moscow Mitch. Senate Republicans either cheer 45 on. Yeah, like I said, Senate Republicans either cheer 45 on or maintain the shameful silence. Um, McConnell's Moscow Mitch's response to 45's overt appeals to racism. He's not a racist, says McConnell. Yes, he is. 45 is the biggest fucking racist there is. His reactions to 45's failure to contain COVID-19. Um, and, and, um, and of course, Moscow Mitch said that President Obama should have kept his mouth shut rather than criticize 45. McConnell's take on 45's multiple attacks on the rule of law, including Friday's commutation of former 45 campaign aide Roger Stone's prison sentence, utter silence. But Moscow Mitch has been a vocal opponent of the HEROES Act passed by the House in early May to help Americans survive the pandemic and fortify the upcoming and fortify the upcoming election, calling it a wish list of the Democrats. In fact, it's a necessary list. Moscow Mitch and his fellow Senate Republicans don't want to extend the bill's extra $600 a week unemployment benefits enacted back in March, but they're due to expire on July 31st. They argued the benefits are higher than what low-income workers are likely to earn on the job, so the money is a disincentive to work. Actually, it's not. Few jobs are available to low-income workers, and most are in so-called essential work rife with the COVID-19. Besides, in the U.S. economy can't be revived unless people have extra money in their pockets to buy goods and services. Even before the pandemic hit, nearly 80% of Americans lived paycheck to paycheck. Now many are desperate, as revealed by lengthening food lines and growing delinquencies in the rent payments. Yet Moscow Mitch and his ilk are happy to give away trillions of dollars in bailouts to the Wall Street bankers and corporate executives on the dubious premise that the rich will work harder if they receive more money, while people of modest means work harder if they receive less. In reality, the rich contribute more to Republican campaigns when they get bailed out. Moscow Mitch and the Senate Republicans quietly inserted into the last COVID relief bill a $170 billion windfall to Jared Kushner and other real estate moguls. Another $454 billion went to backing up Federal Reserve programs that benefited the big business by buying up a debt. And although that bill was also intended to help small businesses, the lobbyists connected it to 45, including current donors and fundraisers for his re-election, and helped their clients rake in more than $10 billion, while an estimated 90% of small businesses owned by people of color and women got nothing. Moscow Mitch's response: he's willing to consider more aid to small businesses, but Moscow Mitch urges lawmakers to be cautious, warning are warning that the amount of debt that we're adding up is a matter of genuine concern. He seems to forget the $1.9 trillion tax cut he engineered in December of 2017 for big corporations and the super rich. Is he willing to roll it back to provide more funding for Americans that need it? The inept and overwhelmingly corrupt reign of 45 of Moscow Mitch will come to an end next January if enough Americans vote this November. But 45's poll numbers are plummeting, and Senate Republicans seem likely to lose at least 4 seats, thereby flipping the Senate to Democrats and consigning 45 to the dustbin of to Moscow Mitch to the dustbin of Capitol Hill. But will enough people vote during a pandemic? The HEROES Act provides $3.6 billion for states to expand mail-in and early voting, but Moscow Mitch isn't interested. He's well aware that more voters increase the likelihood Republicans will be booted out, which is also why 45 is claiming, with no evidence, that the voting by mail will cause widespread voter fraud. If there is another coronavirus bill, differences between Moscow Mitch and the House will have to be resolved within 2 weeks. 2 weeks time after Congress returns from recess on July 20th. Moscow Mitch says his priority will be able to shield businesses from COVID-19 related lawsuits by customers and employees who have contacted the virus. If he had an ounce of concern for the nation, his priority would be to shield Americans from the ravages of COVID and American democracy from the ravages of 45. Robert, that's really about it, yeah.